Barbara, welcome once again to Penn State. Thank you so much for just sharing your ideas and stimulating us to think differently about higher ed. So I'm going to frame these 3 questions out for you and hope to get your response to those. COIL is about stimulating, changing the learning process for students, how we can impact that, improve that. And I'm wondering if you can identify from your work and from your experience something that inhibits or prevents students from learning.
What a wonderful question. And I would say that if I had to look at what inhibits students from learning from a systems perspective, I think the most fundamental aspect of that is our lack of faculty development and preparation and support for designing an educational experience from a comprehensive and systemic and really reverse engineering approach. So if I had all the money in the world.
That was my second question.
So I'm going to jump to your
That's
second
perfect.
question. If I had all the money in the world and I could do whatever I wanted to do in order to help, I think what I would do is I would actually help faculty by having the incentives, the instructional experience themselves, and the resources so that they could look at their courses, think about their courses, design their courses in a way that they could be clear about, at a baseline, what are those few key learning outcomes that they have for students. And again, let me emphasize that when I talk about learning outcomes, I don't mean to trivialize the instructional experience. I think it's important to understand that we can write measurable learning outcomes for the most sophisticated and complex cognitive operations, whether that be being able to discriminate, hundreds of concepts from each other, or if that's able to apply the various rules that are involved in math operations and know when to apply which rule in which situation. But so to the point, I think that if faculty could have an opportunity coming in to work with an instructional designer or as part of an orientation to be able to learn how to think about education and instruction from that kind of systemic way, look at their courses and design them intentionally in that way, and then reverse engineer to say, if those are my learning outcomes, how will I assess my students to know that they've actually achieved those? And how will I prepare the instructional environment so that I know that they practice and they get feedback that will help them actually master that assessment? And that I do everything else, whether it's the lecture that I give or the demonstration that I show or the discussion that I engaged in, or even the stories I tell to motivate them. If you could have that in 99% of your classrooms, then I think the number of students who would fail would drop precipitously. And again, I think it's because, from my view, I look at the importance of the faculty role and the importance of the student role, and we historically generally blame students when they fail. And I don't find that students are really demotivated or that students really aren't interested in learning it or that they really only want the certificate. That may be true in some cases. But if a student comes into a classroom and they're generally interested in the subject, and if they know that there's an experience there that will be value added and help them do something better in the world than they ever did before, I think they want to learn. So I don't think it's the faculty member's fault that they're not prepared appropriately. I don't think it's the student's fault that they don't have an instructional environment that actually works for them. I think it's a system that was designed for something else that we now have an opportunity to correct using new technologies and new ways of doing our work that could help.
Well, as a fellow instructional designer, I really resonate with that. You're talking about setting the table for learning,
right,
and us doing better as an institution to set the table. What's one small thing that I can do as a faculty member teaching my first or second or maybe my 20th course to help improve how I set that table?
I think one small thing that a faculty member can do and one small thing the institution can do for the faculty member is impart a new faculty orientation. Buy everybody either Gagne's Events of Instruction or buy everybody the book about backward design or something that helps them understand how to think about that, or to work with an instructional designer in a Center for Teaching and Learning who gives them a little introduction to that. But again, faculty really don't have much reason to know that unless they seek out those opportunities. So it's as easy as a basic introduction, and then see where that takes. And if that takes the faculty member somewhere that they want to learn more or know more about it, then the resources have to become available to help support them in that.
And what I love about your comment is it would apply to whether I'm teaching online, face-to-face, or blended. That really doesn't matter.
Right, right. Because ultimately, good instruction is good instruction. And it's highly interactive, it's highly engaging, it's highly focused on what a student needs in order to master the skills. The technology is an affordance, right, in that regard. So,
well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
been my great pleasure. Thank you very much.
Great.
Wish you all well.
Thank you.